who's actually going to get the most out of a 9-inch marine chart plotter with sonar built in? If you're a weekend fisherman who only heads out a few times a season, does a high-resolution sonar screen help you catch a few extra bass, or is it just an expensive paperweight? And for the seasoned captain who already has a separate sonar unit, does the Garmin GPSMAP 943 make enough of a difference to justify the price tag? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Those are the questions that keep a lot of people up at night when they're staring at a price tag that feels like a small engine. I've spent the last few weeks talking to a mix of charter captains, lakeside hobbyists, and a couple of friends who run their own small commercial operations. The common thread? Everyone is trying to avoid a situation where they spend a few $100s on a device that ends up gathering dust because it either overpromises on features they'll never use, or underdelivers on the day-to-day reliability they need. With the GPSMAP 943, the biggest risk is buying a chart plotter that sounds great on paper but becomes a headache when you try to set it up on a crowded helm, or when you need a quick WRMIV readout while your fish are biting. First off, the GPSMAP 943 is essentially a two-in-one, a 9-inch color touchscreen that not only shows you your position, but also layers in Navionics plus charts plus an ultra-high-definition scanning sonar. For a captain who likes to keep the helm clean, that's a real advantage. Imagine you're cruising a lake at sunrise, the water's glassy and you're trying to spot a submerged structure. Instead of toggling between a separate fish finder and a paper chart, the Garmin lets you pull up a high-resolution map, zoom in on depth contours, and then switch to the sonar view with a single tap. The transition is smooth enough that you can actually keep an eye on both the chart and the fish targets without losing your bearing. But that smoothness depends heavily on how the device is mounted. The 9-inch display is sizable, which means you need a solid, voile-shaped bracket to keep it stable in choppy conditions. A lot of the early adopter forums mention that the included mounting hardware is adequate for a small boat, but if you have a larger vessel with a lot of vibration, you'll want to invest in a more robust marine-grade mount. That's a hidden cost that many first-time buyers overlook. If you're planning to install the chart plotter on a boat that already has a lot of electronics, make sure you have enough space for both the unit and its cabling. When it comes to practical strengths, the ultra-high-definition scanning sonar is where the GPSMAP 943 really shines for someone who wants more than just a fish or no fish indicator. The sonar sends out a tightly focused beam that can resolve fish and structure as small as a few centimeters. In real-world terms, that means you can differentiate a school of baitfish from a single larger predator on the screen. One of the captains I spoke with said he was able to locate a submerged ditch that had been missed by his older echo sounder, which let him avoid a shallow spot that could have grounded his boat. The Panoptix sonar support adds a side-looking view, giving you a broader picture of what's happening off the bow without having to swing your boat around. Another practical win is the preloaded Navionics Plus mapping. You get worldwide charts right out of the box, which means you don't have to spend time downloading and installing separate map files. For a boat that travels between multiple reservoirs or coastal spots, that convenience can save hours of paperwork. The mapping also updates automatically when you connect the unit to Wi-Fi, so you're always seeing the latest shoreline changes, critical for areas where sandbars shift seasonally. Now for the weaknesses that matter after you've got the unit home. The biggest complaint I've heard from seasoned sailors is that the sonar, while high definition, can be a bit demanding on battery life if you keep it running continuously. On a typical day out, you might see the device's internal battery dip faster than you'd expect, especially if you've paired it with an external power supply that's not rated for the extra draw. The workaround is to set up a dedicated power line for the sonar, which adds another layer of installation complexity. Another point that trips up people new to marine electronics is the learning curve around the interface. Garmin has packed a lot of features into those 9 inches, and the menus can feel dense if you're not familiar with their ecosystem. The device does come with a decent tutorial mode, but real-world testing shows that you'll spend a few hours just getting comfortable with the overlay toggles, the waypoint creation process, and the sonar settings. If you're looking for a plug-and-play solution that works seamlessly the first time you turn it on, you might feel a little overwhelmed. So, who should definitely consider buying the GPSMAP 943? If you're a serious angler who wants to